you were giving an interview, and I'll give a shout out to the podcast Club Obscurite, and you had talked about being in a sketch on the Conan Show. You finally were asked to do a sketch on the Conan Show, and it involved and you were super excited. You got your hopes up, and they do makeup, and they drew a dick on your face, and it. Immediately you went from the highest high to the lowest low, and you had flashbacks of something you just mentioned, being on the Preston Steve show, being the guy that they shot, I think you said like a chili gun or a clam chowder gun at.
Yeah. They did both, by the way.
So is this kind of, do you always feel that I would say most of your jokes paint you as kind of like the butt of the joke? It's not really observational. Yes, they're personal experience, but you always kind of come out looking like the putz. Like, oh, I'm the guy that returns KY jelly. I'm the guy where the chair's going to collapse on my seat. I look like Chaz Bono. What is your insecurity? Where does this insecurity lie in? Is this something that you grew up with? Were you teased because of like your weight or your appearance, or what was it that when you make it to Conan, someone draws a dick, instead of feeling happy about this dick on your face, you're going to be in a show, it immediately triggers past sadness in you. So what is that? What is that is this something that's growing up? And then I promise this is going to lead into how your jokes about how you write successful self-deprecation jokes. But kind of talk to me about this background and this sadness about maybe your appearance or what you perceive your self-image is.
So, I mean, I think I've always been like a goofy person, like a kind-hearted kind of, and goofy, which I don't know if anybody's ever called themselves kind before. But
I think it's very accurate way to say it,
so I think, like, what happens is because I'm always so goofy and, like, joking around, I also end up being, like, the one in the group that, like, that wolf pack mentality where, like, the one person gets separated and gets picked on. It's always been me. Like in sports, like on the wrestling team, that would always happen. When I did football, it happened. Like playing hockey, it would happen. Like it always ended up being like me that it would like the joke. People would like hone in on. So when it started happening at Preston and Steve, like. I was trying to be as like cool as possible, and like try to get as far away from that stuff as I possibly could. And I think like once I like started to like change my mentality to like lean into that, rather than away from it, it's like I noticed it worked for comedy, and I was in such like an insecure headspace because of like a bad work environment, like that screwed me up like a couple years before comedy. That like all my like self-worth was already out the window. You know what I mean?
Geez.
So, so just like leaning, like I remember like somebody making a joke about me. I think it was Bobby Slayton. He's like they call him the Pitbull of comedy. He was a guest on Preston and Steve. And I remember going in to take a picture of him because they were like, oh, go take a picture of him for the website. And I went to go take a picture of him, and he's like, look at this. He's like, who's this Humpty Dumpty trying to take a picture of me?
Oh, jeez.
And like, I got like a total laugh from like the couple people sitting there. But like, I was so upset about that for like ever. I'm like, dude, I don't even know you, dick. Like, so I just remember. Like then looking back on that after like I let go of that anger and I was just like, all right, well, you know what? Like to the outside observer, that is funny. And so like at first I was like selling myself out a little bit for jokes, but I remember hearing a Ralphie May interview who I've been told I look like.
I don't think that's true at all.
But I remember his WTF interview where he said, he was trying to always be mindful because like John Panette was like a legend before, like in terms of fat comedians. He was like the fat comic. So like Ralphie May in the interview was saying like he didn't want to be the fat comic. He wanted to be the comic who was fat. And I remember him saying that, and I was like, okay, I can get on board with that. Like that's I don't want to be the fat comic. would rather be the comic who was fat.
So no, I get that, and that's a great way of looking at it. And so you mentioned that this Bobby Slayton guy, who I don't know, but you said you were angry at this one-off comment. Were you picked on a lot then as a kid because of your weight? Is this like just another person that's piled on top of you for all these years, kind of like 25 years of people just making jokes at your expense? Is that kind of bridging into comedy because you said both your sisters are super athletic, you not so much? Was it kind of like was this a way of getting positive attention for maybe some self-image hang-ups that you had, kind of thing? And
I think ultimately when I started like doing self-deprecation, I figured, like, what's the worst thing that, like, could be said about me?
Yeah.
And just start there.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, it's an 8 Mile approach. You know what I mean? Like, I remember seeing that movie and just, like, that final battle where he just says everything wrong about him. It's literally what they do in rom-coms where they're like, I know, like, remember that Dave Primiano's joke? Where he's like, I know I'm not the best looking, the kindest, but like, you list all your faults. And then the other person has nothing else to go on to like make fun of you. So I was like, okay, well, it's my version of sweeping the leg and just like getting ahead of. Like for instance, like being around little kids, like everybody says like little kids can be like the meanest and like cruelest. So like I remember a summer being a camp counselor and all these like 6-7-year-olds just going in on me. I'm like, oh man, this sucks. and just like there's instances like that. Like I have a cousin who is mentally challenged. And I remember we threw him a birthday party at this rec center, and one of his buddies was there from the home that he's in, and I'm like trying to play like basketball. Like he's just rolling around in a wheelchair, but it's trying to play basketball with him. I just remember just grabbing my side and like squeezing as hard as he can, and like holding it. Like there's a lot there too, And he's just like, yeah, you're fat, and I'm like, all right, dude, like even you're observing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like there's and then the Bobby Slayton incidents, there's all these little incidents like that have happened. Like I remember while I was working at Conan, somebody, the kid I was sharing a room with, I remember waking up one morning and hearing him talk to the other roommates and friends they had over because like our door was cracked, and they're just talking about like, because I snore and stuff like that, and they're like, I don't know, he's just going to have so many health problems and he's going to die an early death. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm in the other, like I can hear you guys.
That's crazy.
It's never bullying. Yeah. Like, but it's always like, it's stuff that hurts.